Welcome to 60 Skills. Today we are going to discuss the biggest egregores. All right, if you don't know what an egregore is, check out the 60 Skills video on egregores and it'll go into that in great detail. But basically speaking, what it is it is an empowered thought form that is built up over a long period of time. Now, this empowered thought form part is the part that's important. Egregores enact a variety of influence upon society from any number of levels. Today we're going to talk about three kinds. One, we're going to talk about religious egregores, and these are the biggest ones that most people will run into. Two, we're going to talk about the role of egregores in business, okay? And three, we're going to talk about egregores from the standpoint of magical practice. Okay, religious egregores are the largest by far. The egregores surrounding Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, these kinds of things are super massive and really old. See, here's the thing. The buildup of an egregore is the result of energy and the actions of people over time. So the more people you have involved over a longer period of time, and the more energy that's actively pushed into that egregore, well, in turn, the stronger the egregore is. The power of the Latin Mass, for example, in Catholicism is amazing and mind-blowing, as is the power of various Hindu saints when you experience those and their strong astral nature, or the incredible mental expansion you receive from Buddhist entities, so on and so on and so on. That power and influence is there because untold millions of people, in some cases billions of people, over thousands of years have put effort and energy into those egregores. Hence, they're pretty strong and they can do some pretty amazing things, both for you and in terms of how your interaction with that egregore changes your life. But you get an egregore anytime more than one person interacts with another person. So the egregores surrounding business are pretty important and pretty potent. They're just not, for the most part, very old. People who understand branding well, or marketing specialists, subconsciously understand how a lot of this works. Now, they would never apply an esoteric thing to it, but if you're energetically sensitive, project yourself into the egregore of, say, a Coca-Cola or a Ford Motor Company or a Kellogg Company, and you're going to run into some pretty interesting stuff. There are definitely entities associated with that because untold millions of people, again, billions of people, have interacted with these companies over time and subconsciously projected a lot of energy into it. Now, this isn't the same thing as grandma sitting in a church pew saying the Lord's Prayer. That's a much more direct transfer of energy into that egregore of her religion. But every time you see a Coca-Cola sign, you think about, man, I'd really like to have a Coke. Guess what? A little bit of energy goes over there too. And this isn't a good or bad thing. It's just the way these things work. Now, as esoteric practitioners or meditative practitioners or occult practitioners or magicians, if you will, we're concerned with magical egregores because that's the bread and butter of, in theory, what we're trying to get done. Now, these egregores, in many cases, are very, very, very old. Additionally, they tend to get rebadged a lot. One story I heard of the Golden Dawn's real beginnings was that you had a bunch of relatively well-off late 1800s practitioners getting together, going on a group hippie trip, mental wandering on a regular basis. And they just ran across this thing called the Golden Dawn, and it got downloaded into all of them. Because egregores are astral and largely bereft of the influence of time, these things can disappear and come back again millennia later. Now, also keep in mind what this egregore was originally and what it ends up being in the here and now are frequently a little different as well. Why? As people interact with an egregore, they work with it, they put more energy into it, they're also bringing their thought forms and ways of addressing problems and methods and technology from whatever era they're in and applying it to that egregore. The egregore ends up changing. Just as working with an egregore changes you change it. So what something originally was and what it is now can in fact be quite different over a very long period of time. But magical egregores are more of a two-way street. You're using that egregore, usually through the activity of ritual, to make things happen in the here and now in accordance with your will. With the egregores associated with business or with religion, that's typically less of a case depending upon what you're dealing with. All of which results in a two-way interaction between the individual and the egregore, all of which results in a change in those things that goes two ways. But these magical egregores that ritual magic practitioners in particular spend a lot of time working with are much more of a two-way street and much more of a battery discharge effect type model. So there's a little talk about the nature of egregores and the three big ones that people typically run into: religious, business, and magical in nature. So if you enjoyed today's lecture, please give us a like and hit the subscribe button down below. And if you would like to learn more about the 60 Skills curriculum, check out the details contained in the details portion of the video below. Otherwise, train hard and be well.